Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors, and if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled, "Neighbors kept inviting themselves to swim in my pool naked. I am the owner of the property and don't allow this." First, a little bit of backstory. I live in one country while the rest of my family, my parents and siblings, live in another one. I am single and I don't have kids, so every few months I go and stay there with them for a couple of weeks. I don't want to look back and be upset that I didn't go and spend enough time with my aging parents or anything like that. The only thing that I really needed to make sure I had taken care of was a couple of things regarding my house. Now, I had installed a door camera and things like that because I did not want to get broken into and then find out about it 2 weeks later after my flight landed and I am jet lagged. The only thing left to take care of was my mail. Due to how often I go visit, it is too much of a hassle to try and call the post office and have my mail stopped and started again every single time. It does not really matter to me because I do pretty much everything electronically and most mail is just formalities or advertisements. It was always drilled into me growing up though that when you went on a trip you always made sure that your mail did not pile up because that would just be a big sign to everyone that you are not home and it is a good house to rob. I don't know if that mentality is cultural or from an older time, but it is ingrained in me. The routine is that when I go out I nicely ask my neighbor if he would not mind just picking up my mail and keeping it for me until I get back. I know that it is a small favor, but I appreciate it and I usually bring him back some snacks from my home country that I know he likes as a thank you. I'm on good terms with him and it all seemed to be working out. The next point I need to talk about is that I have a pool in my backyard because it was something that I always wanted and during the summers it gets really hot. I even let the neighbor bring his children to cool off and we barbecue a few times during the summer and it all works out great. Now, you might be wondering if this was also wonderful, what happened that caused me to scream at him and kick him off my property? I was ending a visit with my family and by some good luck I managed to get a flight to go back home that left in the morning instead of the one I was planning in the middle of the night, like 3 AM. I like to give my neighbor a heads up when I am coming home so I can try and make a good time to meet him and get my mail from him. I don't like to put that off in case there actually is something important in the stack before throwing it out or offering him any of the coupons that I didn't want. This is the kind of guy that always has his phone in his hands when you see him and replies back almost instantly. Because of that, I found it weird that after my flight landed, he still had not checked back in with me. It was the afternoon his time when I sent the message and nighttime when I finally got back from the airport. That was when I heard a noise in my backyard and finally realized why my neighbor did not have his phone on him. He was with a bunch of his friends and all of them were in my pool, totally naked. They were swimming in my pool, sitting on my backyard furniture, empty beer cans all over the place. I was both furious and absolutely disgusted by what I was seeing. I did not want to come home after a long trip to see a bunch of naked people who I did not know in my backyard. When neighbor saw me, he knew that he was in trouble, but I guess he wanted to try and get away with it and try to come up with some reasoning why he was there. Keep in mind that for this whole conversation, he still had yet to put on a pair or shorts or anything and was just letting it hang out. Hang out or dry out, I guess. Anyway, me, what are you doing here? You were just supposed to be getting my mail for me. Him, well, it was a hot day, and I know you don't mind when I bring the kids over for a quick dip. Me, don't even pretend like this is the same thing. When your kids come over, you ask and get my permission first. Secondly, your kids don't equal half a dozen naked guys in my pool and on my furniture with their bare asses. At this point, I think some of the guests figured out they were not supposed to be there and covered up and started to leave. My guess was that he told them he had permission, or even that I was not going to ever know about this. Him,
"Look, it's just a little party, and I didn't think you would be back until late in the morning. I was planning to clean everything up, and you wouldn't have known we were ever here."
Me? That's not the point, trying to say that I wouldn't have known. This is my property, and you will never step foot on it again. Or I am going to call the police and have you arrested so fast your head will spin. He still did not want to really leave, so I ended up getting the hose and spraying him with it until he got the idea and finally just left my property. I still had a mess to clean up, but I would rather do it myself than let him stay on my property one more second. As for the mail, I never got it, and I'm sure if anything was important I would have heard from whoever it was again by now. Probably just missed a few coupons if anything, but it wouldn't have been worth it. As for the future of me taking trips, I luckily was able to get a backup plan for the next time. I had a friend that was willing to house sit for me the next time I went away. I would give them money to stock the fridge and they could use my internet and bathroom and everything. I also installed another camera in my backyard, so if he ever dared to try a stunt like that again, I would catch him red-handed. I told my friend that if she saw him coming into or bringing people into my backyard again, she was to call the police right away, and I taught her how to retrieve the tapes. I did not think that it would have had to come to this, but I don't feel comfortable leaving my house unattended anymore for a long period of time. Part of me hopes that for his family's sake he stays away like he is supposed to, and the other part of me wants him to get arrested. Also, I wish I could see him trying to explain to his wife and kids why they were not welcome to use my pool in the hot summer anymore. And yeah, ripe stars, I just cannot understand these entitled people. I mean, using someone's pool is already incredibly entitled and I would never do that. However, going into someone's pool while he is or she is away, while naked, is really one step further that I cannot even imagine doing in a different universe. Although, then again, where I am from, going, I think it's called skinny dipping, so basically going swimming naked in a lake or something, is pretty common. I'm not really a big fan of that. The next one is titled Clean My Spot Too. So, a bit of backstory to set the stage. I live in a condo in a multi-unit residence. Each unit has 2 assigned parking spots, one right next to the building and the second a ways away in the middle of the lot. One of my downstairs neighbors is an elderly lady with a 40-year-old son who lives with her. She parks next to the building, he parks in the spot in the center. She is not disabled but is temporarily using a walker after slipping on some ice. I live by myself, so I just use my one spot near the building and let the second one sit vacant. So today it snowed and we do have a plow that comes through. However, instead of moving my car, it is actually less disruptive to my life to just brush off my car and shovel the snow into the main thoroughfare for the plow to collect. I work from home, so I rarely drive. While I was out shoveling, this lady comes out and asks if I can clear her out as well. It's not much extra work, so I'm like, sure, I will help you out. After clearing my car off and shoveling the snow around her car out into the main area, I start to head back upstairs. She comes out and asks why I did not finish the job. I stare at her absently for a good 5 seconds as my brain struggles to process the question. Before I finally manage, what job? She complains that I did not brush her car off before shoveling her spot out, so if her son brushes the car off, it will mean there is more snow on the ground. And then complains that I did not do any work at all clearing her son's car as well. And to recap, yes, she said her son brushes the car off. At no point did she indicate she would do any work of any sort, only that her son would. Again, I understand she slipped on some ice, so maybe her butt was sore, but she was certainly not disabled. And her son was perfectly capable himself. I know he has a job and drives and such, so why is any of this my concern? I lean on the shovel and stare at her for about 10 seconds before she grows uncomfortable and asks,
"Why are you staring like that?"
So I say, I live alone, own one car and shoveled myself out. And out of the kindness of my heart cleared out your car so you can get in. You live with an adult son who owns his own vehicle, is perfectly capable of shoveling both himself and yourself out as well. You are complaining that I didn't do all the work despite having zero stake in your situation. And you don't understand why I might be absolutely gobsmacked by all this? I could see the hamster wheel spinning, and then her face brightens as if she had discovered a glaring loophole in some cosmic law that will compel me to do her bidding.
But you have that second spot you never use. Why don't you just shovel that out so my son can use it?
I say nothing more and continue to lean on my shovel with a deadpan expression. After another few moments, she turns around and wordlessly waddles back indoors. I would like to think she realized she was acting like an idiot, but at least she recognized that I was not going to play ball. So yeah, this is going to be a fun winter, I'll bet. And yeah, Ripe Stars, if you ever had any similarly entitled neighbors, then I would love to hear your story either in the comments or on r/Ripe Stories on Reddit, which is our own subreddit where you can post your own stories and I might read them in a video. Thank you so much in advance, and while you're at it, I would also really appreciate if you could like the video, because that would help my channel tremendously. The next one is titled, Karen Makes My Life Hell. It is a beautiful day outside, birds are singing, flowers are blooming. On days like these, it is an absolute perfect day for riding. It is the first non-rainy, no plans day this week, and I've been wanting to get back in the saddle for a while now that the winter is over. So me and my mom get our horses ready and head out. We live in the countryside, specifically Amish country, so horses are really common around here. My neighbor has horses, and the neighbor on our other side actually sold us their horse when they moved because they could not take him. I even saw a lady riding down the street a couple days ago. The point is, horses are not a rare sight, and these dogs should have been used to seeing them and known better. We were heading down the road and about to pass a house with a barn opposite it when two dogs came sprinting from the yard behind the house. One was, I believe, a black Labrador and the other a little Australian cattle dog. My mom managed to stop her horse in time and keep her calm, but I did not have time to react before the cattle dog came biting at my horse's legs. Tinkerbell understandably panicked, which I don't blame her for, and I knew I could not hold on when she bolted, so I took my feet out of the stirrups and pushed myself off into the grass so I could go down of my own volition. Hit my head, landed on my shoulder, and thank God I was wearing a helmet. The headache and ache in my shoulder still have not gone away, and I cannot imagine how much worse it could have been. A lady came out of the house with her phone in her hand and half-heartedly called the dogs in. Thank God my horse did not bolt down the road. She actually came back, and once I was off the ground, I took her reins and led her back next to Jetta and my mom. The lab walked back up the driveway closer to her house, but the cattle dog was still barking at me and Tinkerbell, and I'll be honest, I was about a second away from kicking this dog myself if my horse did not get to it first. My mom asked her to call her dog back, and she said,
"You pretty much just have to walk past her,"
completely ignoring the fact that I just went down and her dog was still going after us, barking and getting far closer to my house than either of us were comfortable with. Again, she asked her to get her dog, and the woman said that she was a herding dog and that she could not do anything about it, calling her dog back one time, which it ignored, and then going back to her phone. The audacity of this woman to let her dog just go after my horse without doing anything to stop it because it is a
herding dog,
and telling us to go past the house when it is still going after my horse was just amazing. A car had been coming down the road and it turned into the driveway, so the dog moved out of the way back into the yard finally. I only got back on my horse after we were far away, and we had a nice 4-hour ride after that incident, though I was not interested in going much faster than a slow walk because of my headache. While our dogs do bark at horses going by, they don't charge them, and our little border collie knows well enough not to go nipping at a horse's heels. Please, for the love of God, if you are in a rural area like this and your dogs are not used to horses, keep them on a leash or behind a fence, be it physical or electric. Edit: for those of you saying I should report her, I am going to contact the dog control officer for her town and see what can be done about the dog. Too many other horses on the road and the dog is likely to get hit if she allows it to run out into the street like that. And yeah guys, about dogs on the streets, that is just really one of the things I don't really like about Thailand. As an example, one of my neighbors recently sort of adopted a street dog and I really like that. I mean, she keeps the dog in the neighborhood, or rather in her house, takes care of it, etc. However, many other people a little bit outside of the neighborhood, they really enjoy feeding street dogs, however, they don't really take care of them. The only thing they do is feed them, but then the dogs are still running around freely in the streets all day. In my opinion, that is really not the way to do it. Anyway, then again, I am here in a foreign country, so there is nothing much I can do about that. And the next one is titled, Don't Complain About My Instruments. So for a little context, my girlfriend and I are renting the first floor of a house. It is a beautiful home, private basement with laundry, reasonable rent, huge backyard shared with upstairs neighbors. To top it off, we have the most amazing landlords, a super kind couple. They do all the yard maintenance, pay for snow removal. Anytime we've had an issue, they are immediately on it. I was worried about moisture turning to mild, boom, dehumidifier in a day. Dryer broke on a Sunday, brand new one on a Tuesday. We moved in and all was great. We had a mom and her adult son upstairs and they were fantastic. Unfortunately, they had to leave shortly after for health reasons and to be closer to the family. But then, enter new upstairs neighbors. It was supposed to be a single mom and her toddler. However, as they moved in, it was a mom, a toddler and a 16-year-old and a dog. Then her partner showed up, and I won't get into all of that followed, but they really liked their meth. There was constant fighting and tons of foot traffic. Garbage started piling up in our wonderful shared backyard, dog poop everywhere. He would get kicked out once a day, hour-long or longer screaming matches followed by stomping at all hours. This was to the point that our sweet-ass pie next-door neighbor and us were losing our minds. Cops have been here more than a dozen times in a few months. Our landlords are not getting paid. They are definitely damaging the apartment and won't let them in. They are currently waiting on a hearing for eviction, but between the virus and being winter, it is a real slow go to get a date. There is a bunch more stuff, just far too much for me to type. Now, my girlfriend is an amazing musician. Singing, guitar or piano always fills our home and it is wonderful. Now, last week though, our next door neighbor ran into upstairs neighbor outside and told her she needs to figure this out. The noise needs to end. We are all losing our minds and she then had the audacity to try to blame the clearly stomping and screaming on us and my girlfriend's piano playing. And it is not like she plays late at night as we actually work. Well, cue my petty revenge. We were at our local music store yesterday for some gear for my girlfriend and another friend. Lo and behold, there was a great deal on a Hughes trumpet. So I think to myself, I used to play baritone in grade school, why not pick up this bad boy and learn a new skill? You think our piano is loud? I cannot wait to start to learn how to play this trumpet. Thinking I will start to practice every time they are fighting, so I will be practicing quite a bit. And yeah, ripe stars, given that most of what I do at the moment is recording videos for YouTube, that would be one of my worst nightmares to have really loud neighbors or neighbors that enjoy practicing their musical instruments at all hours of the day. I mean, to be honest guys, I'm not really a light sleeper, so I would even prefer if they practice at night as opposed to during the day when I record. Anyway, ripe stars, I'm curious, did you ever have any noisy neighbors? And if so, how did it turn out? Let us know in the comments.
More video footage from Doi Inthanon, the highest mountain in Thailand. So yeah, as I said, I'm not really the biggest nature person or anything, but for me, it's not even for me, this is really exhausting or anything and pretty chill. And the air is very good, even though you would think the air is not so good if you can see that smoke. But yeah, obviously I am 27, if I remember correctly. My mom is 69, so if you're that old and it's a little bit more exhausting, but yeah. If you're young, I would say it's no problem.
And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel, but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously, and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.